Hey guys, welcome to another channel episode. Remember, this is the channel where I show you how you don't need to be a CEO in order to have some impact on the world. And in this episode, we're going to talk all about working with difficult data, hard to understand data, and the way forward. Also, we're going to touch a little bit on how to work with teams. Now, before we get started, I just want to bring up one fact. Last week, I missed a episode, and the reason for that was that I actually had someone very close to me die, and it was a very tough experience. It has never happened before in my life, and I actually just wanted to take this moment to kind of give some words about him because he was my best friend and he was amazing. He constantly challenged me and kind of showed me the way forward. He was a leader in that way. He was like a friend, mentor, and one of the things that I just wanted to say was that, good leaders have vision, but great leaders, uh, have values, and also, good leaders are, role models in the job, but at the same time, great leaders are role models in life. And my friend, Jonathan, he was a role model in life. And so that's all I wanted to say. I'm just going to miss him, and yeah, on to the video. Alright, so this week we worked on a data set that was very difficult. It was on farm equipment, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to predict the price they would sell at an auction. And so we had auction data, and we had kind of a test, that, and we had a test data set. Now, this data was difficult because it just had a lot of columns, it had a lot of missing values, a lot of data that we just didn't understand, like model or the type of wheels it had, the use case, and things like that, that in general were things that we had never looked at before in farm equipment. We didn't know what it meant. So we had to do some learning there. In order to find out which columns were actually worth having in our model, we were just going to use some regularization. So more on that later, but more on the data set. Because it had so many categorical variables and also numerical, and we wanted to do some linear regression model, we went for a approach of using a ton of dummies in our data. So we first had to convert the data into dummies. Now, I did this with a group of friends. It was 4 friends. It was 4 of us actually, so 3 more friends. And we had 8 hours to do this. We only gave each other a day in order to solve this question. And we ended up getting a model that was okay, but definitely not great. And in fact, we saw people do better. But regardless of that, this video is going to touch a little bit about working with difficult data and how to actually work with people. So let me start with working with people first. As I mentioned, the data set was hard and a lot we didn't understand. So what we went with was actually working on the EDA, the first part of, working with data, as exploratory data analysis. And when we did that, we actually decided to work together. So we all got on a Zoom call and we worked together, and we had one person kind of lead and run the code, and the other 2 of us, 3 of us, were kind of telling him where he should go, which way he should lead. And we actually found this to be kind of very beneficial. But in the end, you know, knowing what I know now, this would actually slowed us down significantly. But at the time, it seemed like a very good deal because we would learn and explore at the same time, and no one had to catch anyone up, correct? So we finished that, and that actually took us alone, that took us 4 hours. Now, this is usually called data munching, or we actually thought we were in a good position because the data was so difficult that we would be able to use some regularization and do our linear models, even a logistic model, and see, maybe even we can do a k nearest neighbors and see where we end up with that. So moving on to the actual data part and the regularization part, we took 4 hours with that, so we only had 4 hours left. And in the beginning, we continued working as a team. Again, that was a mistake. We didn't know at the time, but when working in groups, I think that pair programming is amazing, pair programming in a way where it's like group programming actually is a big hindrance. It's just a waste of resources. And that's just what we learned doing this project. We had continued doing what we thought was going to work, which was group programming, where one person would lead and the rest of us would kind of navigate. And we started doing something like ElasticNet CV, which is a cross-validation using ElasticNet, which kind of combines the two best regularization methods of Ridge and Lasso. And we thought, hey, we have a lot of columns right now. We have a lot of dummies, right? And we just want to find out what is the best feature for this data set, since we actually don't know anything about these features. We wanted to use computation to help us figure out what was important. And we actually got stuck trying to program that to work with our data. We were having lots of issues. And we actually spent 2 hours on this before we realized, hey, this is a waste of time. We have to move on. We have to split up and do our own thing, because if not, we're gonna end up with nothing, no working model. So we actually decided now, at 6 hours into this project, to break up. And this is where everything got so much better and faster. We were immediately surprised. What we ended up doing was we each gave each other a model to work with. So one person continued with ElasticNet CV since we were super close. Another person worked on Ridge. Another person worked on Lasso. And another person worked on K-nearest neighbors. Now, while we were working on this, we worked in super fast. We worked in an hour. We each got our models to work. It was so eye-opening for us that our original plan, our original way of working together as a team to keep everyone updated at the same time was just not worth it, because we can just come together for 5 minutes, let it explain what we did, our model. Hopefully we can get a graph to show what we're doing, especially when we're talking about regularization. You can do a very good graph for Lasso. You can do a very good graph for Ridge, showing basically the convergence of these features. And as they converge to zero, we know that they are basically not as important anymore. And so you go, now I'm talking a little bit about the models. For example, in Ridge, you just go back and forth, kind of taking any feature that kind of converged to zero, and then you go back and you run Ridge again, and you should see how slowly you end up with more features. Less features, but a little bit more accuracy. Hopefully you can have a mean squared error that's lower, and maybe even predict better using, we use cross-validation. So, I was doing Lasso, and I managed to remove around half of the features in just an hour, and my friend was able to do the same. My other friend doing K-nearest neighbors needed help, but in just an hour we managed to do that. So we still had an hour left. So we managed to go help him out just a little bit for half an hour. We unfortunately weren't able to get a good model with that, so we just scratched it. And then the last 30 minutes, right, of this 8-hour project, we put everything together on GitHub. We, cleaned up our code. We posted it. We fixed our graphs, made them look nice, and we posted it in a README that I'll link below on GitHub. And so you can see what an 8-hour project. We had this timeline in order to kind of learn as quickly as possible. And we learned so much because, 8 hours, that's your typical work day. We worked together for half the day, and that was just a waste of time. We would have wasted the company a ton of resources. We wasted our own time, and we would have put our project way behind if this was a real project. Now, because we did this for fun and just as a learning experience, we ended up just learning a lot about working together as a group and about how to use certain models for regularization in, data sets that you don't understand, kind of using the computer to help you learn about the data set. So that was this one project we did as a group of 4. We had a ton of fun doing it. It was a little stressful, especially at the end, but we learned so much about working as a team. if I were to redo this project, what I would do is that in the beginning, I would still work as a team, but actually pair programming, not a group of 3 with one person driving, but instead 2 groups of 2 with 2 people driving and 2 people leading in separate kind of chats. That would be amazing. And I would only do that for max 2 hours before I start to everyone goes to their own thing. And maybe we can have in the beginning, middle, and end of the day, we can have kind of a group meeting where we catch everyone up, we make sure no one's flagging behind, and we should be good to go. And so that's kind of the update I would do for next time. Pair programming is just amazing. Working as a group isn't, and regularization methods can help you when you have no domain experience. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my data science journey this week, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.